Connecting you. This is Iowa's News Now at 10.
Tonight we have multiple breaking stories to bring you, including devastating flooding in northeast Iowa, travel not recommended in some areas and impossible in others after roads and highways washed away by floodwaters. But Iowa's News Now is also tracking several other breaking stories tonight, including Hurricane Ida. The rapidly intensifying storm is taking aim at Louisiana and could deal a stronger blow than Hurricane Katrina did exactly 16 years ago. Meanwhile, we're showing you a live picture from the White House where President Biden is warning of an imminent attack on U.S. forces in Afghanistan as they try to get the last Americans and refugees out. And Weather First meteorologist Nathan Santo Domingo traveled to Floyd County to inspect the damage from last night's pair of tornadoes in and around Marble Rock. But we begin with the breaking news out of northeast Iowa, where just hours after many ran for cover from those tornadoes and large hail, heavy rain washed out roads, isolated towns, and had some getting out of their homes by boat. As much as 10 inches of rain fell in parts of Kfxa and Winneshiek counties overnight, sending several streams and rivers out of their banks. Some of the hardest hit areas include Spillville, New Hampton, and Fredericksburg. Chickasaw County Sheriff Marty Hemans shared this photo of a water rescue this morning after someone drove into the fast-moving waters. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Here's an incredible picture from Michelle Engelhardt of Highway 18 near Fredericksburg, a portion of which, as you can see, is now sitting in a pile of rubble. And how's this for a positive attitude today? Casey Shannenberger snapped this photo of a young boy whose family paddled their way out of their home to safety. We want to thank everyone who shared their stories and pictures with us today. You can see our full photo gallery on our website, iowasnewsnow.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for much more. Now a breaking news update on that pair of tornadoes that struck in and around Marble Rock last night. Just another chapter in a week's worth of devastating severe weather. Iowa's News Now meteorologist Nathan Santo Domingo was tracking the storms last night and traveled to Floyd County to get a first-hand look at what was left in its wake.
In Marble Rock Saturday afternoon, there was a sense of awe and thankfulness following Friday evening's powerful tornado. The tornado moved in on the west side of town before making a turn to the southeast. One farmer escaped unscathed after 2 grain bins and numerous trees and corn stalks went down on his farm. Further east, the tornado likely strengthened, toppling several trees and ripping apart roofs and walls at a farm at 280th and Jasper Avenue. Marble Rock's fire chief tells me they feel very fortunate to only be picking up debris after Friday's storm.
My guys did a really good job. I think we were out till about 10 p.m. last night, making sure roads were open, power lines were cleaned up. Both Alliant Energy and REC power companies were fantastic to work with. They were on scene very quickly and stabilized their situation. So overall, considering the amount of damage and no one was injured, we were very fortunate.
At the gas station down the street, the kind woman behind the counter was actually able to confirm to me that at that farm at 280th and Jasper, no one was home at the time of the storm. She says that her relatives actually own that place. As far as the cleanup goes, it's going to take several weeks, but the community is at the ready to tackle it together. In Marble Rock, meteorologist Nathan Santo Domingo, Iowa's News Now.
Weather First meteorologist Sarah Flynn joins us now. Sarah, the National Weather Service was also out checking that damage today. What did they find out about those tornadoes?
Yeah, they did confirm 2 tornadoes touched down late last evening. It was from one cell, but both of them were in Marble Rock. We had 2 separate ring tornadoes, an EF0 and an EF1. The EF0 had peak wind speeds of 75 miles per hour, the track about 1 mile. Later on, another tornado was produced out of the same cell, EF1 max wind of 105 miles per hour, a track just over 3 miles. And paired with that storm and really what we dealt with early this morning, it produced a ton of rain, especially north of Highway 20. We had anywhere from about 5 to 10 inches estimates. These are radar estimates. Had reports, though, similar in that area, especially in the New Hampton, Fredericksburg and south of Leroy as well. So definitely saw the impacts from that storm. It is clear out there now. We do see some cloud cover developing off to our west, and of course could have some spotty showers come along with it tonight, but overall it will be pretty clear out there. We'll see temperatures continue to drop down to those low 70s, and as we head throughout the day tomorrow, we'll be a little bit cooler out there as well. I'll break that down for you in my full Weather First forecast coming up next.
Sarah, thank you. 16 years ago tonight, Hurricane Katrina was bearing down on the Gulf Coast, ultimately devastating New Orleans, wiping out coastal communities and killing more than 1,000. Now, they're fearing Hurricane Ida, set to make landfall on the anniversary of Katrina, and it could do so as an even stronger hurricane. The outer bands have already reached the greater New Orleans area this afternoon. This is a live picture of downtown New Orleans right now. Rain and winds are expected to continue to increase in advance of a Sunday afternoon or evening landfall somewhere just west of New Orleans. While millions are trying to get out of Ida's way or find a safe place to ride it out, others are fearing they could lose everything. The outer bands of Ida were already hitting Grand Isle, Louisiana, as residents did what they could before they themselves had to get out. Homeowners were doing everything to try and fortify their homes, and those with property near the shore are concerned the storm could simply wipe them away. But they're hopeful for a best-case scenario.
I'm expecting significant damage, but, you know, if it can stay under $50,000, I guess it's a win for me.
Winds in some areas could reach as high as 150 miles per hour, strong enough to wipe clean some areas close to the final landfall. As for evacuation efforts, we'll have a new report on the rush to get some of the last flights out of New Orleans coming up in just a few minutes. Still to come tonight, the congressional campaign unofficially begins in District 1. The heavy hitters that came to support Congresswoman Ashley Hinson from her Democratic challenger. When Iowa's News Now returns. Republican leaders at the state and local level spoke to hundreds of Iowans at Ashley Hinson's Barbecue Bash today at the Lynn County Fairgrounds. Iowa's News Now reporter Jillian Brooks was at the event where members of the GOP set their goals high after the 2022 election.
On Saturday, hundreds of Iowans filled their plates of barbecue at the inaugural Ashley Hinson's Barbecue Bash, where the Congresswoman announced that she's running for re-election.
No matter what storm comes in the next year, we are ready to fight We are ready to win, and we are ready to retire Nancy Pelosi.
Currently in Washington, the Senate and House majority lie within the Democratic Party.
Or whether it's done from some of these outrageous legislative proposals, this group came to town to transform America, and I think Ashley and I and other Republicans are there to preserve America.
And I think that experiment can be summed up in 3 words, and that's inaction, chaos, and crisis.
In 2022, the Iowa GOP is fighting to turn that majority around.
Are we ready to fight?
Iowa politicians were not the only ones to speak to the crowd here at the Lynn County Fairgrounds on Saturday. In fact, Senator Ted Cruz was the final politician to address the crowd, and he said that the power to flip the majority lies here in Iowa.
The road to the majority comes through Iowa. The road to revival comes through Iowa. And the road to bringing America back to greatness comes through the great state of Iowa.
Election day is over a year away, but officials today are already feeling confident in the support from their voters.
You ready to get this done? Yes. Are you with me?
In Lynn County, Jillian Brooks, Iowa's News Now.
Politics never ends in Iowa. Congresswoman Hinson's challenger, State Senator Liz Mathis, was also in Central City today, speaking with voters at a gas station near the event. Meanwhile, Democrat leaders here in Iowa focused their attacks on the inclusion of Senator Cruz at the event, citing his support for biofuel waivers for oil companies and his controversial actions recently, saying, quote, "From abandoning Texans during a natural disaster to furthering dangerous information about COVID-19, Senator Ted Cruz is the poster child for Washington hypocrisy, and it's no surprise Iowa Republicans are welcoming him with open arms."
It still will be a little bit hot and humid as we head throughout the overnight hours. Looking at a low temperature near 71 degrees in Cedar Rapids. Mostly clear skies out there with a chance for a few spotty showers here and there, but should be a pretty calm couple of days ahead of us and cooler at that as well. I'll break it all down for you in the full weather first forecast coming up after the break.
A handful of states that passed laws preventing mask mandates in schools are now watching those bans lifted by court challenges. Now, Iowa's school mask mandate ban remains in effect, but it is being challenged in court right now. The ban on mask mandates, passed and supported by Iowa Republicans and Governor Kim Reynolds, has put them at odds with current CDC recommendations. This week, I spoke with U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona about the issue in Iowa's News Now exclusive interview. Do you have any direct response to her comments that the administration needs to stay out of the state's business?
Yeah, I want to work with the governor. For me, it's really important. We want the same thing. We want the best for the students of Iowa. And my agency stands ready to support efforts to get students safely back into school, to make sure that the students in Iowa get the best experience this year. Last year was our toughest year in education. This has to be our best year. And I'm committed to working with the governor and others to make sure we get that done. Our students deserve it. They can't have people bickering back and forth.
And we will bring you more of my exclusive interview with Education Secretary Miguel Cardona tomorrow night on Iowa's News Now at 9 and 10. Iowa's News Now is working with a team of experienced hurricane trackers right now to bring you extensive coverage of the impending Gulf Coast disaster from Hurricane Ida. Jonathan Petramala joins us now from New Orleans, where thousands packed the airport looking for a last flight out.
If you're trying to leave Louisiana, whether it's by air or automobile, you better pack your patience. Waiting really was the name of the game today, as tens of thousands of people trying to leave the state ahead of Hurricane Ida. We saw on the interstates and highways around the state of Louisiana, people heading north, heading west, heading east, miles and miles and miles of cars, people rushing with their belongings to try and beat the storm. Same story here at the airport, the security line stretching well beyond the normal ropes of where you would start your security. Wait times stretching upwards of 40 minutes at time. Many people I spoke with say they are leaving as quickly as possible. They cut their vacations short. They did not want to risk having to ride out Hurricane Ida right here in New Orleans.
Definitely trying to get out, because we've been trying to get a way out all day. We couldn't get a rental car, we couldn't get a train ticket or nothing, so we just did get this ticket right here.
The feeling is pretty shaky, my nerves is bad, but I feel kind of better now because I found a flight, an early flight, because I supposed to have left Monday, but the storm, I didn't find out about the storm until I got here, so I kind of feel a little bit better now. I'm just ready to get through this long line.
I just hope I make my flight. That's the only thing. If I don't, I don't really know what I'm going to do. So slight panic, but yeah.
If you were able to get that last-minute flight out of New Orleans, you were one of the lucky ones. Several cancellations on both the departures and arrival boards here into MSY. And for many, again, this was their only option to get out of the city. And many of the people I spoke with say they've never actually been in a hurricane before. They certainly didn't want Hurricane Ida to be their first. In New Orleans, Louisiana, I'm Jonathan Petramala.
Weather First meteorologist Sarah Flynn joins us now. And Sarah, it almost seems unimaginable that we could be talking about a storm that could potentially be stronger than Katrina at landfall on the same day as Katrina made landfall.
Yeah, definitely a little bit eerie as far as timing and the tracks of them. Slightly different tracks and slightly different structure of the hurricane itself. Right now, a Category 2 hurricane in the Gulf, expected to be upgraded to a 3 or a 4 by the time it does make landfall, which will be tomorrow late in the afternoon or early evening hours. We did get a bit of an update here just a little bit ago. It was originally confidently going to be that Category 4, potentially isn't strengthening as quickly as they imagined, but still, regardless, going to be a very destructive storm. Afterwards, will quickly be downgraded to a tropical storm as it tracks further north and off towards the East Coast, bringing a lot of rainfall there. But as you just saw, a lot of evacuations taking place. A hurricane warning is in effect for most of the Louisiana coast, I should say. Further off to the east in Mississippi and Alabama in that tropical storm warning, and further west in Louisiana there as well. Here in eastern Iowa, though, of course, not dealing with hurricane, but certainly it felt a little bit like it yesterday when we were dealing with ongoing rain that carried through today as well. Just today alone, we saw rain reports upwards of about 7 inches in some locations. Elma coming in at about 7.5 inches. A little bit further south in Saratoga and Grafton, 4 to 5 inches there. Independence at nearly 3 inches, and Iowa Falls just at 2.2. So we did need a lot of rain because of the ongoing drought. Unfortunately, this isn't much help when we're dealing with ongoing flooding. Could have a few more scattered showers develop as we head throughout the overnight hours, but it is clear out there now, and we're missing out on the bulk of the severe weather. So some good news for us to catch a break there. Should be a fairly pleasant night ahead, but it is going to be a little bit hot and humid out there. Low temperatures, as mentioned, dropping down to about those low 70s, and tomorrow it'll be a little bit cooler as well. We've had 90s for nearly 8 days straight here in most of eastern Iowa. Tomorrow we'll see those highs top off near about 83 degrees. Partly cloudy skies with a chance of a few spotty showers developing there as well, but the humidity gonna be a lot more pleasant as we continue throughout the week. We're going to see a cold front pass through overnight. That's where we could see some of those spotty showers develop in the early morning hours and once again in the afternoon. But besides that, it should be pretty clear out there, and we'll see our winds shift now coming from the north, and that's going to favor a lot more of a pleasant condition out there. So timing that cold front out for you, that low pressure system off to our north, again causing issues with some of those storms. That cold front does pass through by tomorrow afternoon, and you see those greens change rapidly. That is much less humidity moving in and lower dew points. It does bring us the chance for some spotty showers coming along with that change, but going to be a lot nicer out there, and especially with that humidity. Tomorrow, going to be a little bit sticky at times. We'll see dew points in those mid to upper 60s, but as we head throughout your work week, not going to be bad. We're in the 60s and eventually those mid 50s by Wednesday and Thursday. Hardly going to be noticeable, and if we stay dry, it should be ideal conditions out there to get out and finally enjoy the outside. Tomorrow, again, chance for spotty showers early in the morning and the afternoon due to that cold front passing through. We dry out in time for Monday. Tuesday could have a few more showers as well. A little bit of uncertainty with that. By the end of the week, we're in those mid 80s and looking at another chance for showers and thunderstorms Friday into Saturday. And take a look at those low temperatures in the low 60s.
Sarah, thank you. Still to come tonight, America begins winding down the largest human airlift in history. We'll tell you how many have been flown out and the breaking details tonight on potential threats at the airport once again when Iowa's News Now comes back. The United States has now airlifted 114,000 people out of Afghanistan in less than 2 weeks. This as President Biden orders his first strike on the ISIS cell responsible for this week's deadly bombing at the airport. But tonight, late-breaking word from the State Department that an attack on the airport in Kabul could happen at any moment. Reporter Elise Preston has tonight's late-breaking details.
The U.S. Embassy is warning of a credible threat near the Kabul airport. It is telling all U.S. citizens to leave the airport immediately. Earlier, President Biden warned that the threat of more terrorist attacks on the airport remains high. In a Saturday statement, he said an attack is highly likely in the next 24 to 36 hours, according to his military advisors.
Threats to our forces and to this operation remain real and significant.
The president said, quote, "We will continue to hunt down any person involved in that heinous attack and make them pay." The U.S. began retaliating with a deadly drone hit on ISIS-K in Afghanistan's Nangarhar province.
In this strike, they lost a planner, and they lost a facilitator, and they've got one wounded.
Defense officials have not said whether the three played a role in the airport suicide bombing that killed 13 U.S. service members and at least 170 Afghans. The fallen service members' remains headed home Saturday as the Defense Department released their identities. They include 11 Marines, 1 Army, and 1 Navy service member. Cheryl Marola's son Dylan was a Marine Corps Lance Corporal.
One of the best kids ever. Kind, loving, giving to every single person. Just pray for everybody over there and get them all home.
After almost 2 decades, the U.S. plans to complete its Afghanistan withdrawal by President Biden's Tuesday deadline. Elise Preston, CBS News.
And finally tonight, new tonight as well, Major League Baseball has announced it's auctioning off items worn by the players from this year's Field of Dreams game. Player-worn jerseys and bat helmets from the game are also being sold. This is a live look at the auction site where you can see Tim Anderson's jersey is up over $2,000. Proceeds from the auction will be directed towards the Mercy One Dubuque Cancer Center. Of course, this year's game between the Chicago White Sox and New York Yankees at the Field of Dreams back on August 12th was the first ever regular season MLB game in Iowa and aired nationally on Fox and was the most watched Major League regular season game in 16 years. Last week, Major League Baseball confirmed that the Cincinnati Reds and Chicago Cubs will play at the Field of Dreams in Dyersville on August 11th of next year. And as a Cubs fan, I cannot wait to see the Cubs at the Field of Dreams. You know, I know we can't have a forecast that far out, but it seems like at least once we get into the work week, it's going to be a little more comfortable around here.
Yeah, if the game was happening this week, it would be pretty decent conditions. Tomorrow it'll be a lot less humid out there, but still a little bit sticky at times. We'll see high temperatures in those low 80s, partly cloudy skies, and a chance for a few spotty showers. Kind of the theme for the week, too. We really do kind of stick around in those mid 80s. On and off rain chances, but none of them seem to be severe right now, and really not going to bring a ton of accumulation. Those low temperatures, though, going to be a lot more pleasant as well. We'll bottom out in those low 60s. You can definitely crack open those windows this week and hopefully take a break from that air conditioning. I'm sure you all had blasting for the last 2 weeks there, the temperatures in the 90s.
Absolutely. This is the time of year where you kind of dread opening up the energy bill.
Yeah, I did that the other day and I was like,
Sarah, thank you. And thank you for joining us for Iowa's News Now at 10. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 9 and 10 with updates on all of the developing stories from Hurricane Ida to the flooding in Northeast Iowa. Until then, have a great night.